Welcome to another fun-filled Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live and in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I am yours truly, Sid the Kid, Sidney Brown. That's why I go by. And my co-host, Miss Lakeena McGee, will join me in just a couple of minutes. But in the meantime, in between time, you can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidK80. Once again, that's SidK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can
Lakeena,
follow,
follow you.
you can follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter and at Keenan_McGee on the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app. You want to know why? Because we said so, that's why. And also, you can catch other four live shows throughout the week. You happen to miss them, you can catch them and watch them at your own leisure. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app today. Speaking of Sports Zone Chicago, you can follow them on all social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, find Sports Zone Chicago on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. If you want to catch our podcast version of this fabulous program, Second City Sports, you can do so by subscribing to War on Anchor. We are available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. Make sure you type this in your search engine boxes. Ready? WARR on Anchor. Once again, WARR on Anchor on all podcast platforms. And you can follow War Media at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Once again, at War Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Smash that like button. Share this video. Share this content to any and everybody you know. And we are unapologetically fun, and we have very definite opinions. If you have any definite opinions on any of our subjects that we're going to talk about today during this 2-hour extravaganza we call a Sports Talk Radio Show, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions and comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. But if you decide to troll and don't do something stupid, I'm giving Keenan the full boat to give you fools to barrel and beer boot.
Bye-bye.
I love when she says that. And speaking of new platforms, if you haven't heard by now, shame on you. But we're going to remind you one more again, as you young folks would say. Sports Zone Chicago, you can catch us now live on Roku TV. That's right, you can catch Sports Zone Chicago on Roku TV. There it is, with that beautiful skyline of our great city of Chicago, Illinois, the third largest city in the country. Sports Zone Chicago is now on Roku. If you have Roku TV, just click on the sports section and type in Sports Zone Chicago, and there you go. The app is ready for you to access. You can access our programming live or on demand, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Once again, Sports Zone Chicago is now on Roku TV.
All right, so yeah, still got a lot to do so far. So we got a packed show today. Tell everybody what we got on the show.
Yes, coming up at the bottom of the hour, we're gonna have on Arturo Garza. He's the co-host of the Fundamentals with our good friend in front of the show, Mr. Titus Williams. You can listen to the Fundamentals every Friday from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. on WVON, and WVON is on the iHeartRadio app for those of you outside the Chicagoland area. He's going to hop on to talk some Bulls and talk some Bears, and he's bringing in a little baseball too. I know he's a Cubs fan. I don't know how much Cubs baseball he's watched this year, but we're going to ask him anyway. At the top of next hour, we're going to have Mike Berman. He's the sports anchor and host over at NBC5 Chicago. He also co-hosts Sports Sunday with Layla Rahimi, another good friend of the show. We're going to ask him about the Bears. He's going to cover the Bears starting next week as training camp opens around the league, and we're going to ask him about his time growing up here in Chicago and how he's working back in his hometown. And at the bottom of next hour, we're going to have our hometown girl from KXRB Radio in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Miss Christine the Queen Manika, to give us her take on sports, entertainment, and more. So we have a full plate for today's show. Lakeena, let's get it started by talking about the All-Star game from this past Tuesday from Dodger Stadium.
Mm-hmm. And I think this is like 12, like 10 in a row, I guess, from the AL as they beat the NL once again. Aaron Judge was named MVP of the AL for the AL. It was kind of an entertaining game. I mean, of course, Liam Hendricks, of course, we all know how entertaining he is and how he can be, but yeah, what did you think about?
Give me that ball. Give me that ball.
I know that was pretty funny because he wanted to keep that ball as a souvenir. So I was like, yeah, that was our guy Julio Rodriguez from the Mariners who won. I guess I don't know if he was trying to put the ball get the ball in the stands or whatnot, but yeah, I mean, I actually thought it was pretty enjoyable. I mean, that they, of course, the opener, the national anthem was, but we won't talk about that. But we'll probably ask Christina about that in a little bit. But what do you think about the All Star game?
Even though it's a lack of scoring, I actually enjoyed the broadcast. I know they tried to do this a few years ago by miking up the players during the game, but instead they had people like Alex Rodriguez running on the field to interview the players in between innings. And I guess it didn't work for Fox, but this time around they mic'd up the players, as you mentioned, including Liam Hendricks, Alex Manoah, the starting pitcher for the Blue Jays. He was actually entertaining. And talking to Joe Davis and John Smoltz in the booth, you saw what the players were going through. I'm talking about with the pitchers in each pitch, what type of pitch they were going to throw. And also you saw the friendly interactions with their teammates and with the hitters as well. So I thought that was a very cool moment. We'll get to the home run derby later. I had some thoughts about that. But for the actual game, it wasn't as great as we thought because we live in this offensive era. But I actually enjoyed the actual broadcast. I know Fox had a shade under 8 million viewers, but I thought it's a show, and I thought it was pretty good from an entertainment aspect of it.
Yeah, it's sort of like it's what the All Star game is supposed to be. It's supposed to be this entertaining, kind of like free flowing and such. So it's not wasn't meant to be taken seriously. I'm glad that they did away with that whole thing where the winner gets home field. Their league team gets home field in the
Mhm.
World Series, which was totally absurd. But I'm glad they did away with that. It's just for fun, and so I'm sure there was like some bonuses and whatnot. So it turned out fine and whatnot. So yeah, it was sort of you know it was like I said, it was very entertaining for that purpose and such.
Yeah. You're listening to Second City Sports. We're live in the 11 color for our Friday edition right here in Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. We're talking about the baseball all-star break, and we're going to give you our quick preview of the second half coming up. Lakeena, let's review the home run derby. Your champion is Juan Soto of the Washington Nationals. He beat my guy Julio Rodriguez in the final round by one home run in sudden death. But Albert Pujols, Lakeena, he thought he was just going to get one round at bat. He did okay. Cal Schwarber choked at the end. A couple key moments there. All Albert Pujols' fellow Dominican players came over and stood around him and gave him a standing ovation, which I thought was cool. But I don't know if you caught this, but the moment after that, when Cal Schwarber was choking, Albert Pujols, after he was getting all his accolades, you can see on his face like, I gotta get up and do it again. Well, he got up and did it again, beat Cal Schwarber to go on to the next round.
Yeah, it was actually pretty cool. There was actually some people were wondering, like, did ESPN kind of like dip Schwarber on some of the home run totals because he was hitting them like pretty quick. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if maybe he got to 20 or for sudden death or however that worked. But it turned out to be a pretty nice moment as such. They stopped for a little bit and then they gave a nice standing ovation. He was there with his 5 kids and it was actually really cool to see. But yeah, I mean, it was. Look, it was fine for what it was. I felt like it was still too long. They had the clock and stuff, going, they were like, get some timeouts and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, it's sort of one of those things where you're kind of like, it was fun and like it was a great showing between two young players, so like Juan Soto and Julio Rodriguez, both under 23. I'm sure we'll see a lot more of them. And
Mm-hmm.
it turned out to be pretty cool. He's a second, Soto is the second youngest champion of a home run derby since it became a thing. He's the second Nationals player, I should say, to win the event after Bryce Harper did it in 2018, and the first Dominican-born champion since Cano back in 2011. So nice little history making there. I mean, look, Rodriguez had a nice showing. I think he had like something like the best distance from all the home runs. Excuse me. So, you know, it was definitely like it was fun, but like I said, I think they still could have made it shorter. I mean, it was still lasted like almost like 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
So
because I thought that's what they implemented the clock for, to make the event go shorter, but it didn't work. It was still on for at least 2.5 hours.
yeah, so it was definitely kind of like that and but still like it was a great show nonetheless. And
Hmm.
I like I said, I still think they could have done more. They had like all the pomp and circumstance in Los Angeles and whatnot. So yeah, it actually turned out to be a pretty nice all-star game, all-star weekend in general.
Yeah, a couple of quick notes about the All-Star game festivities before we move on. One, shout out to actor Denzel Washington. He did a great tribute speech about Jackie Robinson. Of course, this is the 75th anniversary of Jackie Robinson taking the field for the first time in the Brooklyn Dodgers uniform, breaking the color barrier in Major League Baseball. And number two, Lakeena, back to the home run derby. it was nice for your truly to see many of the young rising superstars in the competition. But did you have a problem with names like Aaron Judge and Mike Trout and John Carlos Stanton, who won the All Star Game MVP, by the way, the following day? Did you have a problem with those very big names not entering the home run derby contest, unlike back in the day?
Yeah, not really. I mean, I can kind of see why some teams and some players probably didn't want their top guys in the derby because of the fact that you tend to lose a little bit of luster, lose a bit of your power in the second half. So
Mhm.
I feel like okay, you know what? If they don't, and look, we still got a great show, so it wasn't
Mhm.
really a big deal for me.
Yeah, it wasn't for me either. Like I said, my guy Julio Rodriguez almost won. He put on a great first round, the best in total of home runs in history with 32. It was a nice moment with Albert Pujols, as we talked about before. And so I didn't have a problem with it. Of course, Aaron Judge participated in back in 2017 in Miami when he was a rookie. So if he doesn't want to do it again, he doesn't have to do it again. It's all about the young stars, and I thought they put on a great show.
And I think that's probably what it was all about. And I think like it's been said, I feel like okay, yeah, this is sort of like one of those things where in closing, because we got to get to, talking about this, getting to the second half of the
Mhm.
season. But yeah, I think this is sort of one of those sort of all-star games. Like it's for what it was fine for what it was. I mean, it was sort of one of those sort of like little things and such. But yeah, so it was fine. I mean, like I said before, I say overall it was, I'll give it a solid B. I think, look, it's not meant to be taken seriously. It's the all-star game. It's,
Yeah.
it's in Los Angeles. You got get guys a chance to kind of let loose and stuff. So it was fine.
Yeah. You're listening to Second City Sports. We're live in the living color for our Friday edition right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakeena here with you. Let's get into our preview of the second half of the season for both our baseball teams. We'll get the Cubs out of the way, Lakeena. They start the second half tonight in Philadelphia. Tonight's game for you Cubs fans is at 6:10 p.m. Central Standard Time on Apple TV Plus. Once again, tonight's game between the Cubs and Phillies will be on Apple TV Plus, not marquee, starting at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. Lakeena, we talked about this all year long. It's going to start the countdown on which veterans are going to be moved from this Cubs team by the August 2nd trade deadline. Wilson Contreras, who was an all-star. We have Kyle Hendricks, perhaps Ian Happ, who was an all-star for the first time this year. Are we watching their last games in the Cubs uniform?
And we'll have to wait and see what Jed Hoyer does. I think this is sort of one of those instances where you're kind of wondering, like, okay, what's the plan? And I think that's sort of like a thing probably that's missing here. And like we've been saying, I mean, look, we just to see if they can try to get something from for them, and we could talk about like all the trades and stuff. But yeah, I mean, look, we'll just see if this is sort of like because we're getting closer and closer to the trade deadline. It's next week, so maybe this is going to be the last series. So we'll have to wait and see.
And for the Chicago White Sox, they are 3 games behind the Minnesota Twins as they resume play tonight against the Cleveland Guardians. They're 1 game back of Cleveland for second place. Tonight's game, White Sox fans, is on Apple TV Plus starting at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Not NBC Sports Chicago, Apple TV Plus starting at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time tonight. The Cleveland Guardians are here for a 4 game weekend series. We have one tonight, 2 tomorrow, and then the finale on Sunday. Lakeena, I'm kind of worried about Rick Hahn, the GM of the White Sox. He usually speaks to the media before every homestand. We haven't heard any news about Luis Robert, their star center fielder. He missed the last 3 games of that Twins series due to head-like symptoms, lightheadedness. I hope the news is good news. I hope it's not bad news, but we'll see what happens. If we have any updates between now at the end of the show, we'll give it to you. But I'm not as panicky as some Sox fans are on social media, but they can miss him in the short term, but in the long term, they're going to need Luis Robert and for them to reach their goal and make it to the playoffs or perhaps go far.
This I know everybody's wondering like what is this the sort of like the thing for the White Sox. And I know that people are going to say, because I've heard people say, well, they got the best, the worst schedule or the easy schedule and whatnot in the National League. I mean, in all of Major League Baseball. But you wonder, like, okay, they got to go like maybe 35 and 35 to at least have a shot. But I'm wondering at this point, like, what is it about? I'm not seeing it yet. I mean, I'm
Mhm.
not seeing any consistency from this team. So like, I'm wondering. I don't know. I mean, I know some White Sox fans. I heard like others say, well, they still have a shot. I mean, yeah, they do, but again, it doesn't really, where's the consistency here? Is Lance Lynn going to be able to right the ship? Is everything else going to turn out fine? But I don't know. It's sort of one of those days where I just don't trust this team at this point, and it's unfortunate that I feel that way.
Yeah, I know they had to show a little bit more, and I'm with you on that boat, at least halfway. What gives me hope is what they did to Minnesota last weekend, taking 3 out of 4 there. Minus that landslide bad performance last Saturday, but they're starting to beat the teams within their division. The offense is starting to show up. Jose Abreu's bat is heating up as usual. Yohan Makata is coming around very well right now. Hopefully he needs to have a big second half. Andrew Vaughn, who I thought was the MVP of the Twin Series, he had 2 or more RBI in each of those 4 games at Minnesota last week. And also, too, Tim Anderson, he's starting to pick it up a little bit. I know he had his first All-Star start on this past Tuesday, but I think if he stays healthy, that's going to make that Sox offense that much more dangerous. They just need to hit the ball consistently, and they need to start winning games at home. They've been very good on the road this year, above 500, but there's, I believe, 6 games under 500 at Sox Park, and that needs to change. And I said this last week, and I'll say it again. Lance Lynn needs to have a 2005 Jose Contreras type second half. He needs to be dominant. Even if he doesn't get the win personally, the Sox needs to win his games, and Lynn just needs to be more consistent on the mound.
And I think that's going to be the thing. And hopefully he can right this ship, because I think, look, like I said, the only thing about the White Sox is that they're in the AL Central, so they still have a shot to win the division. They're within 3, but they started it off tonight. If they don't win 3 out of 4 against the Guardians, things, you're going to be right back where you started before the All-Star break. So we'll see what happens going into the rest of this weekend's schedule. You got the Angels and the Braves. That should be interesting. That should be an interesting matchup there. We'll see how I don't know if Otani is going to be pitching this series, but it'll be interesting him against Acuna Jr. That should be a fun one. Miami versus Pittsburgh. The Yankees, they lose both those games against the Astros last night, so I'm sure they're going to be smarting. We'll see how Baltimore does, how they are coming back. That's going to be an interesting series as well. San Diego and the Mets. I think the Mets, that should be an interesting series as well. The Padres
a possible playoff preview.
Maybe we'll see. That should be interesting. Toronto and Boston, that should be a fun one. I think both teams are trying to kind of jockey for position to be like right there in the AL wild card. The Marlins and the Pirates, the Rockies and the Brewers, that should be an interesting series. Tampa Bay and Kansas City, Texas and Oakland, Washington and Arizona, Houston and Seattle trying to build off that 14 games in a row. We'll see if they can keep it up against we'll see if they can keep it up against Houston and the Giants and the Dodgers. That should be a fun one. That was a really good one last night too. That was like kind of a back and forth, like 5-0. The Dodgers were up 5-0. Giants came back, they took the lead, but they had Mookie Betts' 3-run home run kind of put that game away.
Yep. And also, too, we have Washington at Arizona to round out the weekend schedule. Your national television schedule for this week. Fox Saturday Baseball will have San Francisco and the Dodgers. Most of the nation will get to see that game at 6:15 p.m. And those of us in the Chicagoland area will get Cleveland at the White Sox. So those are your games on Fox for this coming week. Your Sunday Peacock game will be the Chicago Cubs at the Philadelphia Phillies. Jason Benet will have fun with that. That's 11 o'clock a.m. on Sunday, exclusively on Peacock, and your Sunday night baseball game of the week on ESPN in San Diego at New York to take on the Mets.
FS1, you got Houston and Seattle. That's for tomorrow at 3:10. And the second half of that doubleheader will be Texas and Oakland. So I'm sure there won't be any crowd shots with that one, but that's a whole other story.
May be paper fans, but never mind. Let's get out of here, Lakeena, before I shoot myself in the foot.
All right, we're gonna get our busy show going right now. We'll talk to WVON and Arturo Garza as he talks Bears. They start training camp next week. A little bit of Bulls and maybe some baseball as well. So we kick off our guests power 90 minutes, I guess, something like that. So Cindy Brown, Lakeena McGee, Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you in a bit.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago. The Cubs open up a series at Philadelphia tonight. It'll be a 6:05 Central first pitch. 3-6 lefty Justin Steele starts for Chicago. The Phillies counter with 5-3 right-hander Kyle Gibson. Philadelphia heads into this one with wins in 3 straight, 6 of 10. They're third in the National League East, 8.5 games behind the first-place Mets. The Cubs are fourth in the National League Central. They snapped a 9-game losing skid heading into the break. Right now, the Cubs are 14.5 games out of first place. The White Sox square off with the Guardians tonight. 7:10 Central first pitch in Chicago. Neither team has announced a starting pitcher. The Guardians are second behind the Twins, 2 games out of first place. The White Sox are just 3 games out of first. Just a couple days away from the start of Bears training camp, things get underway on Tuesday, July the 26th. For lightning fast sports updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of the most popular sports apps in North America. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
Staples has everything for school at great prices. So this year you won't go back to school. You'll be ready to move forward and master 5th grade math.
I can't do this. It's impossible.
Not you, Dad, your daughter. Staples will help her move forward.
Right.
Right now, Staples comp books and number 2 pencils are just 50 cents each. Plus, 2 pocket paper folders are only 25 cents each. Everything on your list at amazing prices. Staples, we're not going back. We're going forward to school. Ends 8/27 in store only, limit 30.
Wendy's knows cold and soggy fries are the worst.
So soggy.
That's why we're serving up hot and crispy fries all day, every day.
And all night until close.
With natural cut potatoes, sea salted to perfection.
Show me that potato skin.
Wendy's hot and crispy aren't like other fries. We're your dream fry. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's hot and crispy fries.
Guaranteed to be hot and crispy. If yours aren't, bring them back and we'll replace them.
Welcome back to the Friday edition of Second City Sports. We're live and in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena_McGee on the IG.
If you have a question for our first guest, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. But here's another friendly reminder. You have a Roku television. Just go to the sports section and type in Sports Zone Chicago, and you can access Sports Zone Chicago's programming live and on demand. That's right. Get up, Chicago. Sports Zone Chicago is now on Roku TV. So check us out there as well. Our first guest, Lakeena, WFAN New York may have their own version of TNT with Tiki and Tierney, but here in Chicago, we have our own version of TNT. That's T-Dub Titus Williams, good friend of the show, and Arturo Garza, a.k.a. DJ Turnby. So joining us to discuss the Bears and a little bit more around Chicago sports and the NFL, we're going to welcome in a first-timer to Second City Sports. You can follow him on the Twitter at Arturo Garza04. Once again, at Arturo Garza04. Here comes DJ Turbine. Welcome to the show, my man. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me, guys. This is awesome.
No problem. Just to give a reminder, you can catch the fundamentals tonight and every Friday night from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. Central Standard Time on WVON. If you live outside the Chicago area, no sweat. Just download the iHeartRadio app, type in WVON Chicago. You can access their programming right there. DJ Turbine, let's get it started by talking Bears football. I know the rookies are supposed to report tomorrow. The veterans on Tuesday. The very first practice is on Wednesday. Before we really break it down, what is your outlook on the Bears for this upcoming season? There's a lot of prognosticators and pundits on their thinking that the Bears are going to be like Jacksonville or some of the worst teams in the league, maybe the New York Football Giants. But what is your quick outlook on the Bears for this upcoming 2022 season?
All right. Well, when it comes to the Bears right now, I love the team. I'm not going to say that I'm putting my heart out there right now, but realistically speaking, I do understand that first year with Eberflus, and we really gutted the team in the sense of most of our backbone. So I wouldn't say the hype of the season is going to be wins and losses. Is going to be development. That's where you're going to be, watching for this year. Record-wise, I have the team going 8-9 this whole season, and first year for Eberflus, I like that. And could be more storylines that are probably going to be developing down the line. But for right now, that's where I see them, middle of the pack, 500. Maybe they can go with 9-8 on a good, because they do have a very easy schedule this year too.
Yeah, that's probably the one thing that
the one thing
that Bears can kind of build on that.
If any hope,
Well, yeah, a little bit, maybe a little bit, but after going to the wide receiving core for a second, after Darnell Mooney, I mean, they drafted Velus Jones. Folks are concerned about his age. He's 26. Byron Pringle's another guy they picked up. So, what do you think about the core? And we'll get to Justin Fields in a second, but
sure.
What do you think about the core as a whole for the Bears, that receiving core?
Other than Mooney, because he's probably the only guy that you're gonna say he's kind of ticks all the boxes. Other than that, I am curious to see N'Keal Harry. I'm not gonna expect much from him, but I do understand that he is a guy who came from a situation in which he feels, in his situation, that he didn't get the much fair shake of it. And I feel that means he's going to come in here with at least something to prove. And what better place to do it here in Chicago? So I'm going to have at least expectations for him to at least produce based solely off that he needs to perform just for his career to continue, whether it's going to be here in Chicago or somewhere else down the line. But the production will be here in Chicago for the immediate future. Other than that, I would like to see what Equanimous St. Brown can do. It's a very big body receiver. And Chicago, other than Equanimous, are very short. And N'Keal did add a little bit of size, too. He's about 6'4". But other than these two gentlemen, the rest of them are about 6'1" and below. But we got speed up there. Speaking of speed, Byron Pringle, veteran experience, David Moore. He's another guy I want to look into because he might have had he was bouncing around last year a lot. But in Seattle, he was one of Russell's targets. So he proved to be at least a reliable threat in the red zone. But I think he had about, if I remember correctly, 13 touchdowns his whole career in Seattle. And so that's about, that's something I want to see here in Chicago. But I'm not going to say that he has a guaranteed spot. Most of these guys I've mentioned are all fighting for a spot. So it's up and down. I'll say there's a lot of talent and, opportunity for guys who don't really get a fair shake on other teams that can possibly get more reps here and maybe do something with it. And again, I said, most of these guys that we don't know what we're going to get, but at least the production will be here for the Chicago Bears in the immediate future.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the Bears offense, Arturo. You look at it on paper with the lack of playmakers from the wide receiver position, but you look at the running backs. Khalil Herbert is very good. You saw what he did in the absence of David Montgomery when he missed those 6 games last year. Of course, Montgomery's back healthy, and Justin Fields, we're sure we're going to, like Lakeena said, we'll get more into him later. But what do you expect from this Bears offense? Me personally, even with all this we're talking about right now, there's no excuse. They should score at least 25 to 27 points a ball game, especially in this NFL, which the rules are favoring the offensive players.
You're saying about 25, 27 points?
Yeah.
That's where you want to see them?
Yeah.
I personally have them around like 22 to 24. If they can get into that, I would say success. And not to plug my own show, but I want to see this Bears offense go to the fundamentals because it just feels that things got complicated. And I feel like I want you guys to go back to old school Chicago Bears style football, which would be running the game, running the football. You do have Khalil, as you said, and David Montgomery. You have a couple of the options. I feel like right now, let's not put so much on Justin's shoulders. Maybe let the game come to him. You have to set up certain things for him because, quite frankly, last year, let's just say confidence-wise, he was not set up for success. And this year, you have to build it up. And quite frankly, let's just go from ground zero and up. Let's start with a run game. And once the run game gets going, then you can go to a play action. And with a quarterback like Justin, that is just going to help us out so much more. And there's no question of his passing. I've never questioned Justin Fields' passing ability. I just questioned that the people behind him were not probably looking out for his best interests as opposed to their own interests. But that's another story. And but for right now, that's where I want to see this offense go. And then the O-line itself, that is such a big question because I still personally don't feel like they've done enough to add the bodies they have at this point. It seems like this is it, barring an injury in camp or something like that, or in preseason. God willing, they don't have any injuries. But I don't want to see this team back in injury, situation again like last year. But I see this offensive line, like, if you can keep it simple again, fundamentals, running the football, get these guys confidence up. It's the same thing with Justin, the same thing with these O-line. You're going to have a very young combination of offensive linemen, barring Cody Whitehair and Lucas Patrick. The tackles are either going to be Larry Borum and it could be either Braxton Jones, the rookie we just drafted, or it could be Tevin Jenkins from last year, who unfortunately fell out of favor in the starting rotation. So we don't know really where that's going to be. That's where there's like a lot of question exactly. So, it's just a lot of question marks right now. But if you keep it to keep it to the fundamentals. Let's run the ball. Let's just focus on like one down at a time, one first down at a time, and then it builds. And I'm, at this point, anything other than Matt Nagy last year.
Well, I think a lot of Bears fans feel that way. Switching gears to talk about the defense. Of course, here we know Eberflus is a defensive, coach. Not a lot of players. I mean, Roquan Smith, Jalen Johnson. We'll see if Robert Quinn's still here by training camp. Yeah. Well, and what do you think about what's your expectations for the defense? I think that's probably like the best question I could ask you.
See, I actually expect this defense to be probably middle of the pack next year in like rankings. Let's say like I don't expect them to be top 10 by any means, but at least if they can crack top 20 to push top 15 and probably your yardage and points allowed, I think you're gonna set the foundation of what Eberflus wants to put out there, and expect Lovie Smith's style of like production in the sense of like it's gonna take time because he's gonna have to get the players that he knows he wants to trust out there, and it's first year. We don't know who he trusts, quite frankly. You're only going to see that when you see it on the field. When you see him, when you see certain players out there in certain situations, that's when you're going to realize, he trusts him. He trusts him and him. So right now it's kind of like I expect them to, run, as he already explained to us. He said, I'm going to have these guys run into the ball. And quite frankly, that already makes me think of Rob Marinelli, not even Lovey, because I remember Rob Marinelli used to have a Velcro defense. He used to call it Velcro. What did that mean? It means when you run to the ball carrier, I don't even care if you take him down. Just keep a hand on him for somebody else to come. It's because he wants people to consistently hustle. Keep running. That's what the whole run mentality means. And I love seeing that again because, quite frankly, last year, even the season before that, I've seen guys give up on plays or at least look at like, hey, you could have had a little bit extra here, or, players that gave up on plays way too early. That never really happened in those old school mentalities. And I'm hoping that that's what Eberflus really instills back into the defense, which could, anything could happen next year. Roquan, I expect him to have a heck of a season. Look out for Jaquan Brisker. I really feel like this kid is going to be a Cam Chancellor, Tyrann Mathieu hybrid player. He's going to be in the box. He's going to be in zone. He's going to be in the back. He's just going to be all over that defensive field, in my opinion. And he's going to make Eddie Jackson's life a lot easier.
You're listening to Second City Sports, live and live in color, the Friday edition, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. We're talking with Arturo Garza, a.k.a. DJ Turbine, from the sports show Fundamentals. You can listen to it on WVON tonight and every Friday night from 9 p.m. to midnight Central Standard Time. DJ Turbine, let's switch it over to basketball. The Chicago Bulls, they brought basketball back to the Windy City. 46 wins, but they bowed down in the first round to the Milwaukee Bucks in 5 games. They resigned Zach LaVine the offseason, but they picked up Goran Dragic and they picked up Andre Drummond in a 1-1 deal. I'm still shaking my head at that one, but do you think the Bulls have done enough? Call me crazy unless you know something I don't know. And I give this Bulls front office credit. As we said, Lakeena, bad boys move in silence, and AK and Mark Eversley. But do you think that the Bulls management has done enough? Because unless you know something I don't know, I don't see a shooter on this team.
So I understand that when it comes to shooting, because let's be honest, when we came into the offseason, the biggest needs that the Chicago Bulls needed were shooting and interior presence on the offense and defensive glass. Let's be honest about that. Did they address part of that this offseason? I would say the presence a little bit. Shooting, no. I'll be honest, they didn't add nothing. But what they basically told me, what they are running back, and more importantly, and I could at least say that this actually does need to happen, is continuity. And you are getting back a pretty much minus one or two players, the whole core from last year. And I feel like that's actually really important because, quite frankly, if you do look back at some of these last champions, most of these teams have been together. There hasn't been a one-and-done team that came together like the Raptors. Even the Raptors to a degree were, minus Kawhi Leonard, you look at Kyle Lowry, you look at Fred VanVleet or Pascal Siakam, those guys were together. They did get the one guy to push them over the hump, but most teams, championship teams, they just don't happen overnight. And you can't keep, pulling and plugging players. Most Bulls fans were, up and all in discussion of should we keep go for Rudy Gobert and get rid of Vucevic. That could happen, but then you're starting over at a position in the sense of having a new guy start at ground zero, and then not just him being at ground zero, you got other guys that got to, acclimate themselves to his game and so on and so forth. So I understand where we didn't get shooting for sure. I do, to a degree, Dragic, when he played a full season in Miami last year, he had a really weird season in Toronto and in Brooklyn, in and out of the lineup. So I will give him a pass last year because he did shoot about underneath, I want to say in the 20s, so it wasn't the best. So, but his last year in Miami, he was very effective. And I do want to say that him going to a team where he can at least have an off season and have another time to, and that's also something I do want to say, that this team had the opportunity, like with Andre Drummond coming in and Dragic, both these guys really haven't had the fair shake of having a full season with a squad. And I'm hoping that the Bulls break the trend with both these players, have these guys come in, full training camps, full everything. They have their role. They go through the whole season. If you look at Andre Drummond, his last 3 seasons, he's been on 3 seasons, and he's been involved in, I believe, either a trade, a buyout, or a trade, or a release, or something like that. And he spent time with him. Last year, it was Brooklyn and Philly. The year before that, it was LA and Cleveland. The year before that, Cleveland and Detroit. What kind of stability for any NBA player is that? So I want to say that at least Drummond coming in, having a full season, hopefully, could be beneficial for him. Dragic last year got traded from Miami to Toronto, had a couple games in Toronto, didn't finish the season there clearly, got his buyout, went to Brooklyn, and he told us that he, in an interview over there in Olympic, where he's playing Olympic ball, he ended up saying that Brooklyn was a mess, so he can really realize what kind of comfortability we're going to build there. At least here we have a GM and a VP that are clearly trying to build something here, and you can see that the good direction is trending in the right direction. So I'm hoping that I'm not asking for I'm not saying that I'm going to get the last 2018 Dragic and Drummond, the last time they're all-stars. I'm not getting that. I'm just hoping that when crunch time comes, that these guys will be guys that can move the needle and at least push us to a certain direction. And again, continuity.
Do you expect Aiken Eversley to make any sort of surprise moves? Hey, surprise! You want to maybe the Drummond Dragic size. Maybe those were kind of those came out of nowhere. But do you see anything up their sleeves?
To be honest, I didn't see Dragic or Drummond coming to this team. Both signings were completely out of left field for me. But I said, hey, last year I actually pushed for Dragic to come to the team during when he was looking after his buyout. But as of right now, I don't see them making any other moves unless they – only other move unless I can see happening is a Kobe White trade if something comes to the table. But at this point, they said that they've had enough come to their way and – nothing's enticed them to, say, okay. Someone told me a while back, the Lakers offered Taylor Horton Tucker for Kobe White straight up. And me and Titus actually said we both would take that. Why not? Bring the Chicago native back home. We could always use another wing over here. At that point, then we were over here so if that's what we would take, obviously, that's why we're not in the front office. But well, what is it? What is it that the Bulls are looking for? Looking for an actual first round pick, or are they not getting that? Are they saying want certain protections around the draft pick? That's the only thing to see that could possibly materialize. And if that happens, they could only possibly do it for a pick, and then they could open up a roster spot, and then who knows, somebody can come in.
We're heading down the home stretch with Arturo Garza, a.k.a. DJ Turbine from the WVON Sports Show, The Fundamentals, right here on Second City Sports Live in the Living Color, the Friday edition, right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid, Lakeena here with you. Before we move on, Arturo, one more question from me about the Chicago Bulls. Lonzo Ball, there was reports, at least over the last couple of weeks, saying that he's progressed, but not to the timetable like the Bulls would like. But me personally, I'm not saying I'm not worried. I'm concerned. But do you expect him to be healthy for a training camp, or do you think this kind of problem may continue with him being injury prone? Because you saw what he did like with the Bulls last year when he was healthy.
I absolutely love what he did last year with the Bulls, and they need him. If they have any hope to try and compete for a title, they need him in the lineup. And the thing, though, was if you would have asked me this question before the Goran Dragic signing, I would have probably said we're on good pace. But I couldn't help but after seeing the Dragic signing, it pushed me all that way. Like, man, Zoe's not ready, and that is an emergency contingency plan that you do because you don't want to be cut with your metaphorical pants down in the raw situation, but you wanted a guy to be ready to go, and Dragic is a guy who would fill in an emergency need. And in my opinion, you don't know what you're gonna do with Kobe, and Ayo is the only other real point guard you have on the team, and you don't really want to put Caruso back at point. I want to see Caruso personally back off the bench, be the defensive havoc wreaker that he is. That's his natural role. Don't put more on the plate of somebody, especially if he didn't need to. But with a lack of a point guard, you get Dragic, and that's what raises my concern. So will we see Lonzo go to camp? Possibly, but I've heard that because we've seen him at Summer League walking around, and he skipped a little bit, but the word is that he picks up workouts and then the knee flares up again, and that's the problem. So it's not even that he can't, or like, I'm seeing it with my eyes walking at around in the I just saw him at the mall. Yeah, okay, but the thing is, if he puts any workout, any kind of stress on the knee, it acts up again. So this is a injury that seems like when it's a bone bruise. So and it's a real tricky injury, and people sometimes don't come back from that. Fingers crossed. I'm not going down that path. He's taking a lot of precautions, and you saw he didn't even have the Bulls staff examine him or take care of him. He has his own doctors taking care of him because he doesn't trust. I'm saying he don't trust, but it's my body, my decision.
Going to the Diamond, the White Sox, they have, quote unquote, the easiest schedule in the second half. Do you see that perhaps maybe making a run and perhaps try to take control of that AL Central?
I'd say this is not the best opportunity for them to make a run right now. I say that this is more of Titus's topic. He usually covers the Sox, and I go for the Northsiders. But I do say that the Sox have the best opportunity if they can get. Honestly, they're too good to be where they're at right now, in my opinion. And I say that this is the best opportunity for them to at least right the ship. And hopefully, the old adage, curing wins all. So if you can get a couple wins and stack them, maybe the morale changes in the room.
I'll ask you about the Cubs then, Turbine. How many games have you actually watched from start to finish this year? And how many veterans do you expect to go between now and the August 2nd trade deadline?
That's a good one. You caught me off guard with that one.
That's what we do over here at Second City Sports.
I like it.
I was trying to spare you, Arturo. I was trying to spare you. That's why I tried to get you with the Sox question.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But, hey, I have to be honest. I am the Cubs fan, and I chose that, But what was it? It's not 2016, and I know that for a fact. How many games have I watched? Only a handful because I'm still trying to get my hand. It took me a part way to get the marquee app so I could start viewing my app. So I'm viewing them. I watched a couple, and it's funny because earlier this season, you remember when they went on that little heater in the beginning of the season where they made everyone made them feel good?
Yeah.
At the studio, me and Titus everybody there was just hyping me up. And me and our program director, Delva Rando, are the two big Cub fans. They just kept trying to tell us, like, yo, you guys happy? You guys happy? And I just kept saying, no. And they're like, wow, you guys are in a good spot and everything. I was like, this is the height of my season. I know what's going to happen after this. And now we're at this point, and they looked at me like, wow, you were right. I was like, I told you. So you just try to. So at this point, yeah, that was probably the last time I watched a full game because it was magical.
Tell everyone about your show on VON. For those of you who don't, for those outside Chicago who made, to download the app and such, tell what you and Titus do and about the show and such.
Sure. We're on every Friday from 9 to midnight, and VON programming is normally a little bit of political, a little bit more serious. So on the program, we like to end the weekly programming with some fun sports talk because, quite frankly, what's more relaxing than just getting around with your buddies and just, talking about, just some of the fun stuff in sports that, can at least entertain you or make people mad. Who knows, what the situation brings up. And it's just an opportunity for people just to, like I said, relax and just, take a little mood off and, throws a little monkey wrench into a normal program would normally be in VON. But the name of the program, like we said, was The Fundamentals. And it's also about teaching people, again, if you don't know sports, we'll try to break it down for you in the most fundamental way possible. If we talk about something, oh, wait, we don't know what that is. This is what that means. And this is what that means, so on and so forth.
All right. Before we close out, DJ Turbine, I just want to say thank you guys for letting me on your show back in April. I've been listening to it ever since then. I listened to it before then, but you and Titus are having that great debate back and forth, whether it's Cubs, Sox, the NBA, Bulls, everything else in between. You guys have a great report back and forth. I just want to say you guys keep up the great work. Of course, not to toot my own horn, as you would say, Turbine, but yours truly is going to be on that program again tonight talking baseball. I can't wait to jump on with you guys.
You go, exactly. I was just going to say, Sydney, you're going to join us tonight, 9:30. Yep. Very excited for that. Thank you again for joining us.
Yeah, I'll break away from that Apple TV coverage of White Sox baseball. Though, both our baseball teams are on that channel tonight. So,
yeah.
So we'll find ways to stream that. But, yeah, I'll be on there tonight to talk Chicago baseball. Who else knows what can pop up? But we'd like to thank you for joining us today on Second City Sports. Great job. You and Titus, keep up the great work. Tell Titus I said what's up. Of course, I'll speak to you guys on the radio show tonight. But tell Titus we said what's up. We're going to definitely have you and him. Hopefully we can have you guys back on this program together soon.
Hopefully. Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate the time.
Thanks. You stay safe, Arturo.
Thank you, Lakeena.
All right, take care.
Thank you, Sydney.
All right. Once again, that's Arturo Garza, a.k.a. DJ Turbine, the co-host of the WVON sports show, The Fundamentals. You can catch that program tonight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time on WVON. If you're outside the Chicagoland area, you can download the iHeartRadio app and search for WVON Chicago. You can access that program right there. Lakeena, hour number 1 is in the books. Hour number 2 is straight ahead as our guest buffet continues. We'll have sports reporter and anchor from NBC5 Chicago, Mike Berman, who also covers the Bears. He's going to join us. He's going to make his debut on the program. He's going to talk Bears, Bulls, Chicago baseball, and growing up in the city of Chicago and now working in his hometown. And at the bottom of the next hour, our homegirl, Christine, the Queen Manika, is going to give she's going to give us her commentary of sports, entertainment, and more. So you stay right there. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. You're listening to the Friday edition of Second City Sports live and in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago. The Cubs open up a series at Philadelphia tonight. It'll be a 6:05 Central first pitch. 3-6 lefty Justin Steele starts for Chicago. The Phillies counter with 5-3 right-hander Kyle Gibson. Philadelphia heads into this one with wins in 3 straight, 6 of 10. They're third in the National League East, 8.5 games behind the first-place Mets. The Cubs are fourth in the National League Central. They snapped a 9-game losing skid heading into the break. Right now, the Cubs are 14.5 games out of first place. The White Sox square off with the Guardians tonight. 7:10 Central first pitch in Chicago. Neither team has announced the starting pitcher. The Guardians are second behind the Twins, 2 games out of first place. The White Sox are just 3 games out of first. Just a couple days away from the start of Bears training camp, things get underway on Tuesday, July the 26th. For lightning fast sports updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of the most popular sports apps in North America. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
Staples has everything for school at great prices. So this year you won't go back to school. You'll be ready to move forward and master 5th grade math.
I can't do this. It's impossible.
Not you, Dad, your daughter. Staples will help her move forward.
Ah, right.
Right now, Staples comp books and number 2 pencils are just 50 cents each. Plus, 2 pocket paper folders are only 25 cents each. Everything on your list at amazing prices. Staples, we're not going back. We're going forward to school. Ends 8/27 in store only, limit 30.
Wendy's knows cold and soggy fries are the worst.
So soggy.
That's why we're serving up hot and crispy fries all day, every day.
And all night until close.
With natural cut potatoes, sea salted to perfection.
Show me that potato skin.
Wendy's hot and crispy aren't like other fries. We're your dream fry. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's hot and crispy fries.
Guaranteed to be hot and crispy. If yours aren't, bring them back and we'll replace them.
You gotta love those teasers as we kick it right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports. We're live and in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago, along with Miss Lakeena McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brown. Hey, that's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at CK80. Once again at CK80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Lakeena McGee on the Twitter and Lakeena_McGee on the IG.
Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app. And also, too, we are now on Roku TV. Make sure if you have a Roku television, just tap into the sports section and make sure you download Sports Zone Chicago today. And make sure you catch us live and/or on demand 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. If you don't have a Roku TV, make sure you download the app on your phone, on your laptop, wherever you can download your apps. And make sure you can now access Sports Zone Chicago on Roku TV. So make sure you catch us on Roku TV as well today. And also, too, you have a question or comment for us during our next 60 minutes or so extravaganza we call it Sports Talk Radio Show. You can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. Mike Berman from NBC5 Chicago Sports will join us coming up. We'll talk Bears, Bulls, and Chicago baseball with him. And we'll have our girl Christine, the Queen Manika, at the bottom of the hour to give us her sports commentary and more. Lakeena, I know you wanted to get into some news from around the NFL. News broke yesterday that Kyler Murray has a new contract over 5 years or over $240 million. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's sort of, there was like this push-pull, he deleted all the Cardinal stuff from his social media platforms, and he put it back on after about a month, and then everything else. So he's got about, I think, like about 46 million, like lower 46 million guarantee, I believe, which is the second highest in the NFL behind, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson. We'll get, we won't talk about the other stuff, but also Pat Mahomes as well. So 230 million, 160 million guaranteed for injury in case he gets injured, and we'll make 105 million fully guaranteed upon signing the official signing of the deal. So I guess they go to training camp next week. So I guess that's when it will be officially official. So what do you think about that deal? Sid, what is this? If you're Lamar Jackson, you're thinking, what is this here?
Nice job with that Eddie Olczyk reference. Officially official. Tremendously tremendous. I know this is what he says. But Kyler Murray, I know some people complained about it because he's not a top 5 quarterback. What is he doing with this deal? First of all, I say congratulations to that young man. Get as much money as you can, because we all know, Lakeena, that in the NFL, the contracts are not fully guaranteed. So you have to get as much upfront money, guaranteed money as you can. Is he a top 5 quarterback? No. Is he in that next range between 8 and 15? Yes, but he still has to improve on taking care of that football and staying healthy, because the trend that has been played throughout his young career is that he'll start off hot, but he's injury prone after the Thanksgiving Day break, going down to the playoffs. You saw what happened with Arizona last year. They got out to that hot start. They were the top seed in a while in the NFC, and the injuries, including injury to him, slowed that team down. You saw they lost in the wild card round to the now eventual Super Bowl champion Los Angeles Rams. And so what Kyler Murray needs to do, he still needs to improve because he's still a good quarterback. He needs to improve also, but he needs to stay healthy. And I think that's the number one thing.
Yeah, I think that's sort of been the things for the last couple of years. He needs to kind of bulk up a little bit because he's very small in stature to begin with. So he definitely has to, sort of, bulk up a little bit if he wants to be like right there in, that top tier. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. But I love some of the his former coach over at Oklahoma, of course, now USC, Lincoln Riley. Said some nice things about him, congratulate him. Marquise Hollywood Brown, who they actually, people forget, he and Murray actually played together when they were at Oklahoma. So they had a nice little throwback picture with them together. They look like little babies back then. And it's like he wasn't Hollywood yet. He was just Marquise Brown. The Hollywood, they didn't come until he got into the league. But but it's funny. But yeah, I mean, look, I think you're kind of improving mode now. You got the GMs, still there at Arizona. Cliff Kingsbury got his new deal. Now Kyler Murray's got his new deal. So. Now, if you're an Arizona fan, you're a Cardinals fan, I'm sure there are some out there. You're kind of now improving mode now. Let's see what this team can do, and they can. But they're in a very tough division, the NFC West. So now everything's sort of wrapped up and such. So let's get to the meat and potatoes. Let's get to the football part of it.
Yeah, this current season for the Arizona Cardinals will be important. Was last year a fluke, or can they build upon it? And they're going to have a tough start because DeAndre Hopkins, their star wide receiver, who was also injured last year at various points last year, he's going to be suspended for the first 6 games of the year because of alleged PED use, and so that went against the NFL's policy. So he's going to miss at least the first 6 games. We'll see how Kyler Murray handles that pressure. He'll have time now because of training camps starting across the league next week.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be very interesting there too. And look, their defense actually got better a little bit. So, like I said, they got Brown from the trade from Baltimore, and we'll see. I mean, he can kind of we'll see if you're Arizona. Hopefully, Brown can hold down the fort while Hopkins is out. So we'll see what happens. And like I said, we'll get more in depth into it once we get into our division previews and those type of things. But going back into Lamar Jackson, I mean, he's the only one that he's kind of in that same class. You could probably say he's a tier better than Kyler Murray, and I'm sure a lot of his fans, I'm sure Ravens fans are a little, you're wondering like, okay, where's his payday? But he's already at camp now. Baltimore's already open training camp, and he's there, so it's not like there's no animosity there. So we might get an announcement before the start of preseason. Who knows?
Yeah, Lamar Jackson will get paid, Lakeena, but this is not just regarding him, but regarding Kyler Murray as well. I know some fans are thinking, why did they get paid so much money? Well, this is the starting price tag for starting quarterbacks in the NFL. We all know that the total amount in the salary cap goes up every year, but if you're a top 5, top 10 quarterback in the NFL, your price tag goes up even more. So teams have to be careful on how much they pay these quarterbacks, and you have to invest. First of all, see if your quarterback is the guy to carry your team, and number 2, you have to surround him with the horses that he needs. And so the more that these starting quarterbacks play at a high level and be consistent, the price tag goes up. And for their sake, I don't blame them either. So as you said before, Lakeena, Lamar Jackson is going to get paid. If the Baltimore screws this up, 1, shame on them. Number 2, there's 29 other teams, 31 other teams that they're going to buy for his services. I guarantee you that. So I think it's just only a matter of time before Lamar Jackson gets paid, because Deshaun Watson set the precedent. Patrick Mahomes did before that. Of course, Aaron Rodgers and Derek Carr a few years ago. So it's all about the numbers at this point.
Yeah, I think that's sort of like the thing here. You're listening to Second City Sports. I'm Sports Zone Chicago, along with Cindy Brown. I'm Lakeena McGee. As we wait for NBC5's Mike Berman, I should say, to join us. Did you see the Rams' Super Bowl rings? Very diamond heavy. I think that's sort of like the kind of covers it. I think
I saw part of it on social media yesterday. Yes.
Yeah, I think it was like 1.12 carats of diamonds. And yeah, they sort of like they kind of did all that with the history of when they were the St. Louis Rams, I guess, when they moved back to Los Angeles and such. So that a very nice bling there for them to show off for Matt Stafford and Coach McVay and Aaron Donald and the rest of that team to show off.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why you want to win if you're a professional athlete. Correct, to get that bling and who can outshine who in terms of the championship rings, and that thing looked like a beauty, Lakeena. So, and Arizona wants to retire. What nonsense! Looking at that piece of jewelry, I would go win another Super Bowl so I can get some better jewelry. But sure, all the money he makes, he could buy some better jewelry that himself better than that Super Bowl ring. But it's interesting to see how these teams are pair up with these companies that makes these rings. It's very beautiful. Of course, us working stiffs can't even sniff at even renting those things, let alone buy them outright.
No, absolutely. This also designed, with also help of LA-based jewelry house of Jason, Jason of Beverly Hills, was a top jewelry designer. So I'm sure that place is probably going to get a lot of requests for that particular design. So just want to kind of bring that up a little bit here. Now, other NFL news. Apparently, I guess the Pats are. I guess they don't have they still don't have an offensive defensive coordinator. They're not naming any. Apparently, I guess that's sort of the name that's been that's sort of like the thing. I guess he said that he's not, Bill Belichick is not naming any offensive coordinator to replace Josh McDaniels, of course, who is now in Vegas. He said he's not big on titles. Okay.
Oh, really?
Okay. But just want to kind of bring that up. It's just a little like, okay.
Yeah, we know. We all know that Coach Bill Belichick, as we call him on this show, Bill Belichick. He always does things in secret, and most of his assistant coaches have about 2 or 3 titles anyway. So you can't give him just one title. If you really look at the history of his coaching career and going back to his days in Cleveland back in the early 90s, all those people that worked under him now have been successful in the league. They did about 2, 3, 4 jobs, like Phil Savage and what was the one? Scott Pioli. The end of his career in Kansas City a few years ago, but he worked with Bill Belichick up in Cleveland. Of course, he moved him up to New England. They did about 3 or 4 jobs, changing the oil on the tires, getting the scouting reports, looking at film. So if you work for Coach Belichick, you're going to have about 2 or 3 jobs.
Yeah, that's kind of like what I think. Who knows how much those guys are getting paid. So
you're right. That too. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, probably not that much. Yeah, exactly. The Bengals are, for the first time in their history, white will be the new primary orange color on the stripe of the helmet that has been featured since '81. It'll have an alternate helmet this year, and I guess they'll have white helmets. They'll do the design of. They teased it earlier on social media. Seeing like some of these, these teams. I know the Giants are bringing back some of their old colors and designs from the '80s. That during the LT and those and Phil Simms in those days. But
yep,
what do you think
Mark
about
Bavaro and all.
Yeah, yeah. So what do you think about the teams kind of like bringing the old, with the color rush and bringing back the old with the new and such, sort of like just modernizing the old designs from back in the day?
Now, the New York Giants one, I don't mind because that's really, as you said, Lakeena, that's where we grew up on in the Phil Simms, Lawrence Taylor era. I kind of actually like those uniforms. I know they wore in a couple of the games for the last couple of years on Throwback Sunday or wherever they call them, but I wish they would bring those back full time. Now, the color rush jerseys, it depends on what team. Well, what team? Some teams can pull it off, other teams can. Remember the Bears back in '02, the Champagne Bears? They wore their road blue pants with their blue jerseys in that Monday night game against Green Bay. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was a little bit weird.
Exactly. Some teams could do it, some teams cannot.
Rams remember the Rams had those highlighter type uniforms, like they're very gold, like very like yellow, like mustard color.
Yellow crayon uniforms.
Yeah, the real crayons. Like what the heck? Like what in the world are these uniforms? Like those highlighters and such. Like well, I know the Bengals kind of had like the similar type colors. So like the teams might have like the bright colors in their, as part of their scheme. They look like little highlighters and such. So it was a little bit weird, like seeing you saw some mustard, you saw a little bit of ketchup. I think the Jets had like some relish colors. Like it was a little bit
a walking hot dog.
I'll say now you're hungry. But it's sort of like how I like how they kind of like mix up a little bit, but some work out better than others. But it works.
Yeah, back to the Bears. I know a few times, especially a couple 20 years ago, their white war uniforms. A few times they wore the white pants to match them because I know tradition they wear their navy blue pants as far as the road games is concerned. I like the white and white on the road. Now they
Yeah,
can keep that, but as
yeah.
far as home, wear the navy jersey and the white pants, and I'm good with that.
I'm trying to think about those white pants.
They
Now
did it a
that
couple of times during that 2001 season.
Yeah, I know. I remember those uniforms, but yeah, those like they might be a little bit too white, I guess. But then, what if it's raining that day or something, or it snows or something? That could be a little that might be a good. I feel bad for the equipment managers when those with those kinds of jerseys, but
Oh,
it
one
is
more
what.
before we move on, Lakeena. Now, the orange jerseys, which the Bears usually wear around the Halloween weekend, and they didn't
Hmm.
do it last year. Do you like those?
Well, I mean, like I said, the minimum is good. I think minimalist is good in that sense. Orange,
I
like
think she's
okay,
saying no.
yeah, well, no, I don't mind the orange. I guess it's like as long as they just do it in Halloween. But yeah, it's just sort of
Mhm.
like, well, though that's very orange. Okay, with the
You
they have
listen
the
to,
little stripes on there.
yeah.
I don't know about that one.
You listen to Second City Sports live and in living color for a Friday edition right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. Mike Berman from NBC5 Chicago Sports. He'll join us in the next few minutes or so to give us his take about the Bears in the state of Chicago baseball and more. Lakeena, what else was on your mind?
The well, I guess no Gronk, no problem. I guess the Bucks have signed a veteran tight end, Kyle Rudolph. What do you think about that? This is according to some of the various sources and such. It's a 1-year deal. We all know here in Chicago. Of course, he played for the Vikings for
Mhm.
years. What do you think about this signing? And plus, do you believe what Gronk's girlfriend says that even she doesn't believe that he's gonna, that he isn't coming back? Sort of a twofold question.
First, Kyle Rudolph, he's another body on the roster. We'll see what happens. He's a veteran. I know he was on the Giants for the last couple of years, as you mentioned. He was one of those key players on the offensive side for Minnesota those last few years before that. So he's just another body on the roster. We'll see what happens with that. As far as Gronk's girlfriend, I'm tempted to believe her. I just don't see Gronk sitting on that couch very long. You notice he's not doing anything as far as media wise right now. So if he really called it a career, he would have been working back at Fox, or he can still start his own podcast, but he would have been in a permanent media role. And you notice he's not doing that right now. So I expect it to come back. So might get some time around October or early November. We already know that injuries are bound to happen across the league. And so his phone's going to be ringing off the hook.
Camille Kosk, I want to make sure I get her name right. I got something. I didn't want to make sure I got her name mixed up. Yeah, but she's a big sports fan too. And I guess I think
Mhm.
they met at a game. I think that's probably how they got together. But or maybe they made like something a sports award show related. But yeah, she says she doesn't believe for 1 second that Gronk isn't gonna is gonna stay retired. But again, we'll have to wait and see.
She's a very smart woman.
All right. So as we're waiting for Mike, anything else kind of sort of catches your eye, whether it's NFL or otherwise?
Oh, yes. Sticking with Tampa Bay, I know you saw this story earlier this week. Leonard Fournette, who's had his troubles throughout his young NFL career with Jacksonville, and of course, now with Tampa Bay, he has a Super Bowl ring from a couple of years ago. He checked into camp at 260 pounds.
Yeah, I saw that, and that kind of threw me off. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, yeah. What have you been doing, during this off
Well, we know
season?
what he's been doing.
Or
A lot
not
of
been doing?
donuts and chicken
Well,
wings,
well,
fried
one thing
food, not
well,
good, all
yeah,
that.
I was
Ugh.
say, yeah. Well, one thing he's not doing is working out, and I guess
Right.
he's 27, so I guess he can sort of get back into that 225, 230 somewhere in that range. But yeah, he's gonna have to lose it kind of quick. But that can be very dangerous for you. So all
Yeah.
of you try to be like did you see Nick Chubb and that lifting those weights? I don't know, there was like about 6 or 7 stacks of like I don't know how many pounds they were, like about 100, maybe like 50 pounds each or something like that. Like Jesus. But yeah, be like him. Don't be like Leonard Fournette, all you aspire running backs out there.
Our guy Jason Palmer, you can listen to What's Up Cubs every Monday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago. He checks in via Facebook. Wow, he's going to be a fullback, referring to Leonard Fournette. Yeah, if he keeps up messing up his career, he'll be a fullback, but out of a job. So,
I think the fullback is kind of like, sort of a dying breed in the NFL or in football in general. So I don't know if that's going to work, Jason, but we'll see.
Yeah, so I saw that story. I was like, wow, how can this happen? But you know that some folks take the game so seriously, like Tom Brady and many athletes do. And so unfortunately, some athletes take their talents for granted. And it looks like that's what we're seeing here.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, oh goodness, that's going to be very interesting there as well. So anything else sort of like kind of caught your attention during the week? I know not really much has been happening this week. So of course you had the ESPY Awards, and so some of the big winners were Steph Curry. I think he won like 3 or 4, and the Warriors won Team of the Year. Swimmer Kayla Decky won Female Athlete of the Year. So anything else sort of like caught your attention?
I caught part of the ESPYs. I thought Steph Curry did a good job. Here's the thing. Travis Kelce was the kind of the co-host and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I think he might be your next host of the ESPYs next year. We all know that
auditioning.
Right. We all know that he has a big personality. He's one of the best recognizable personalities in the league. So I wouldn't be surprised if they bring him back for next year. Will they bring back Steph Curry? If he wants to do it, I think he'll do it. But Travis Kelce really stole the show for me.
Yeah. Also, too, Odell Beckham Jr.'s little boy, his 5-month-old son, kind of stole the show. He was like right there, like it was little tux. I'm sure he's only 5 months, so he probably has no clue what was going on. So it's interesting. But that was, like I said, I think Dickie V's speech was really, really nice. They had great speeches and stuff. Of course, we know how Dickie V is. He went on for like almost 20 minutes, so they had to kind of rush through the rest of the awards. But it actually ended up working out. So it was Steph won. Like I said, Steph won for male athlete, and the Warriors won Team of the Year. So it actually ended up working out pretty well.
Yeah, I know he made a couple of digs at LeBron James as well, and it was very interesting. Steph Curry, we all know that he has a big personality, and he can relate to people. He crosses all barriers. So, and I know his wife, Ashley Curry, is out there as well doing some things on her own. So they're relatable to people. And Steph Curry is one of the few athletes today that can transcend audiences not just in the game of basketball, but outside of it as well.
So I think it was a great show. Like I said, don't be surprised if we see Travis Kelce as the next host for next year's ESPYs. I think he's already like kind of like auditioning for that. We know he's pretty funny and very off the cuff, so I think I'm sure. Don't be surprised if within like maybe not next year, maybe within the next couple of years. I think so. That'll be pretty interesting. Like I said, I remember. I know that Curry did a couple of days of LeBron because of course he hosted right after the Cavs got their butts kicked in the finals, so that kind of was but he kind of made fun of it too, so it was actually pretty funny.
Yep. All right, Lakeena, let's hit this commercial break. You're listening to the Second City Sports right here on Sports Zone Chicago. We're live and in living color. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. We'll have more for you when we get back from the break. Hopefully Mike Berman from NBC5 Chicago Sports will join us, and we'll have Christine Manika, our homegirl, Christine the Queen Manika, our homegirl as well, for her sports commentary and entertainment and more. You're listening to the Second City Sports live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Keep it here.
Progressive presents the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago. The Cubs open up a series at Philadelphia tonight. It'll be a 6:05 Central first pitch. 3-6 lefty Justin Steele starts for Chicago. The Phillies counter with 5-3 right-hander Kyle Gibson. Philadelphia heads into this one with wins in 3 straight, 6 of 10. They're third in the National League East, 8.5 games behind the first-place Mets. The Cubs are fourth in the National League Central. They snapped a 9-game losing skid heading into the break. Right now, the Cubs are 14.5 games out of first place. The White Sox square off with the Guardians tonight. 7:10 Central first pitch in Chicago. Neither team has has announced a starting pitcher. The Guardians are second behind the Twins, 2 games out of first place. The White Sox are just 3 games out of first. Just a couple days away from the start of Bears training camp, things get underway on Tuesday, July the 26th. For lightning fast sports updates, download the Score app. It's free and one of the most popular sports apps in North America. I'm Chuck Sanders. That's the Sports Flash on the Sports Zone Chicago.
Staples has everything for school at great prices. So this year you won't go back to school. You'll be ready to move forward and master 5th grade math.
I can't do this. It's impossible.
Not you, Dad, your daughter. Staples will help her move forward.
Right.
Right now, Staples comp books and number 2 pencils are just 50 cents each. Plus, 2 pocket paper folders are only 25 cents each. Everything on your list at amazing prices. Staples, we're not going back. We're going forward to school. Ends 8/27 in store only, limit 30.
Wendy's knows cold and soggy fries are the worst.
So soggy.
That's why we're serving up hot and crispy fries all day, every day.
And all night until close.
With natural cut potatoes, sea salted to perfection.
Show me that potato skin.
Wendy's hot and crispy aren't like other fries. We're your dream fry. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's hot and crispy fries.
Guaranteed to be hot and crispy. If yours aren't, bring them back and we'll replace them.
Welcome back to second.
Oh,
Okay.
those are
That's all
those
right.
darn rejoins.
Yep. We love those rejoins, don't we?
There we go.
All right, there we go. All right. Welcome back to Second City Sports. We're live in living color for our Friday edition right here on Sports Zone Chicago. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena McGee on the IG.
If you have a question or comment for us during our last little bit over a half hour left of today's show, you can go to Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in your questions or comments in the comments section. Lakeena will get them up on the screen for you. But just another friendly reminder, you can also catch Sports Zone Chicago live in 11 color on Roku TV. We're on the Roku television. You have a Roku TV. Liam Hendricks from the White Sox like it. That's right. Sports Zone Chicago is now on Roku television. You have a Roku TV. Just go into the sports section and type in Sports Zone Chicago. You can access our programming live in or demand 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So here we go. Sports Zone Chicago is now on Roku TV. And Lakeena, we're going to bring in our guest. He's a sports anchor reporter from NBC5 Chicago Sports. He's a hometown guy. You can also watch him on Sports Sunday at 10:35 with our good friend Layla Rahimi. Here comes the one, the only, the great Mr. Mike Berman. Mike, welcome to the show. How are you?
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. I was trying to link. The link wasn't working. I was working on a story. So my fault for being late, but thank you for having me, and I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Thank you for taking out time in your busy schedule to join us. I know we'll get into it now. You also cover the Bears for NBC5. I know you look. I know me personally. I miss Berman, but I know you're gonna be working under that glaring hot sun in Lake Forest.
I miss Bourbonnais because there's a better atmosphere. Like you got the smaller town, you got the fans coming in. But I don't miss the drive. So I'm happy to have a shorter drive, a shorter trip to Hallis Hall. And it's been, I think this is the 3rd year the Bears are doing training camp at Hallis Hall, but it's going to be the first one that's like normal just because of COVID. Yeah. So I'm excited for next week for things to kind of feel like a traditional training camp, even though it's not in an off-site place. It'll still be really fun. And I'm looking forward to getting the season started. I think, it might be a long season, but you know what? Anytime NFL's back, Bears football's back, I'm glad.
Well, kind of piggybacking off of that, what should be the fans' expectations? Because I think you got a new regime, you got a quote unquote easy schedule. So what is sort of your synopsis of this season for the Bears?
And I like that because isn't life kind of all about expectations? Like, if your expectations are in the right place, then you can't be that upset. I mean, obviously you're a fan, so you're going to be frustrated if they're really bad. But let's put our expectations in an appropriate place. This is a team that's really lacking at, with skill guys at the wide receiver position. We don't know what they have in how good can Cole Kmet be at tight end. They've got a questionable offensive line at the moment. And, we don't know exactly what they have in Justin Fields yet. All the tools are there. We know that. But, how does he overcome a challenging first season? Is there any mental linger from that challenging first season going into season number 2? How does he jive with Luke Getsy and the new offensive staff? All questions we have to get answered. So expectations wise, I think let's look at it like this. This is a team that Ryan Poles, with all the moves he's made it very clear. This is not a team chasing the playoffs. This is a team in a complete rebuild, tearing it down to the studs and hoping to build a consistent winner and a sustainable winner, through the draft, through young guys on rookie contracts. And so I think when we look at it through that lens and talking about some of the areas that they're probably deficient, I kind of think this is probably like a 5-win team, maybe 5-12. Lakeena, you mentioned the easy schedule, so maybe that allows them to get an extra win or two that maybe they, against a tougher schedule, wouldn't have. But I think nothing about this year matters anywhere in the same galaxy as Justin Fields' development and what we see from him, along with a new offense and a new offensive staff. If the Bears win 3 games or 4 games, but there's clear and obvious steps taken forward by Fields, and it's clear that this is a better offense that uses his skill set, which clearly the last offense and the last staff did not do, then I think that is thumbs up. Let's move ahead to his 3rd season. Let's stock the roster with what's going to be a high draft pick and maybe some other free agent pieces to plug holes. And then maybe you go into year 3 with Fields and year 2 with Matt Eberflus's staff, hoping for a chance to compete for a playoff spot.
And sticking with head coach Matt Eberflus, Mike, I know he's running his first training camp starting next week, but you're there at Hallis Hall, so you get to you got a chance to see what he's trying to do up close as far as his pressers are concerned. From the outside looking in, it looks like he's going to be a guy that's going to hold his players accountable, and also too, it looks like he's going to go back to the Lovie Smith way of doing things as far as getting players in shape, especially on the defensive end, taking balls away and really forcing turnovers. We haven't seen that from this Bears team in the last few years.
Absolutely. I mean, the last time the defense was a defense that really feasted on takeaways was 2018 when they won the division. Believe they led the league that year in takeaways. And look, it goes without saying, if you can take the ball away and give a young quarterback and an offense that's maybe not as talented some short fields, give them an opportunity, some extra possessions that way, you're going to give your team a much better chance to score points and win games. So that would be great. He's a defensive guy. Yes, I think the accountability factor is going to be there when it wasn't with Matt Nagy. I mean, look, Eberflus mentioned in his first presser, and I think it was his last presser going out of the offseason program, these guys better have their running shoes. They better get ready to run and be in shape and be conditioned because we're not going to get beat that way. And it seems like the players are cool with it. I think sometimes, decades ago, that's what players expected to do in training camp, right? They were coming to camp to get in shape. These days, with the way that players work out 12 months of the year, with personal trainers, with, incredible technology and nutritional information to stay in shape, that's not the case. And so I almost feel like the modern day coach is probably normally going to shy away from being like really obvious about like, okay, we're gonna get you guys in condition, because I mean, you guys know how it is. It is a players' league.
Yeah.
It's all about the players. They kind of control things. So you don't want to upset them. You don't want to be that new coach coming in hot and upsetting them. But it doesn't feel like he has. It feels like they appreciate that he wants them to be in shape, and that they're never going to be beaten because they're in poor condition, and that they're going to fundamentally be really sound. They're not going to be committing the outrageous, terrible penalties that the Bears did under Matt Nagy. I know. It was painful. And I talked with, it's funny because I went to Missouri, and when I was in school, Matt Eberflus was the defensive coordinator there. So it's like a really strange full circle my life, like, now he's the Bears head coach. But I got a chance to talk with the guy who was the head coach when Eberflus was there as the D coordinator, Gary Pinkel, who's a college football Hall of Famer. And he was telling me, Matt is the type of guy that you knew even when he was playing, he was going to be a head coach. So he's had that kind of demeanor and the way he carries himself for decades, even when he was a teenager. That to me seems like a really good thing when you're talking about a guy that you want to lead your organization, hopefully back to a place where you're consistently competitive.
Let's talk defense for a second, Mike, because I think with the rumors about Robert Quinn perhaps not being here, or perhaps maybe before midway through the season, what are the defense expectations, especially now that you have a defensive head coach leading them?
It's going to be interesting because, obviously you got rid of Akeem Hicks is gone, Khalil Mack is gone, Eddie Goldman's gone. They're switching from a 4-3 to a 3-4. On the backside, you've got two rookies who are going to be starting in the secondary. So, there are massive questions about how good or, competitive this defense could be. But I feel like the talent's there. There's going to be some raw talent. Like even a guy like Trevis Gibson, who emerged last year as a pass rusher, but was still in the shadows behind Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn. If Robert Quinn's gone, maybe he totally explodes onto the scene. You already know you've got something really special in Roquan. In the secondary, I think Jalen Johnson's proven he's really talented. Now you got Kyler Gordon opposite him, who seems to have all the makings of another really good corner. If you can get closer to Eddie Jackson 2018, 2019 than you've had recently, and Jaquan Brisker is as good as he seems like he might be, maybe that secondary is a real strength. So the positions or the scheme switch, having a defensive head coach, obviously the talent, at least on paper, seems like it's down a little bit just because of some of those names that you've lost. But maybe the defensive coach, some new blood, young guys, emerging stars, maybe that kind of all comes together and this is a better Bears defense than we expect. But I got to be honest, I'm interested to see because I just don't know. I guess you could say that for the Bears in general, right? For the offense and the defense, it's like we just don't know. So that's why I'm really excited for camp, because we're going to start to get some answers to these questions that we have.
Mike Berman, sports reporter and host from NBC5 Chicago Sports, is joining us right here on Second City Sports. Sid Lakeena here with you, live and in living color. Mike, let's switch over to baseball. The Chicago White Sox kick off the second half of the season tonight with a big 4-game series against the Cleveland Guardians. They're 3 games back of the Twins, 1 game behind Cleveland for second place. What do you expect from the White Sox in the second half of the season?
Maybe I'm naive, but I keep thinking they're going to figure this thing out. And obviously they're super fortunate to be in a division that's not real good because, if they were in the AL East, they'd be at a point, at where they'd have no chance to win the division just because of, like what the Yankees have done. So they're in a division that's winnable. That was a huge close to the first half of the season to take 3 of 4 from the Twins and to go into the All-Star break only 3 games back. So, if they can avoid some more of these injuries, which I know, Luis Robert left last weekend with some lightheadedness. I'm sure we'll get an update. I'll be out there today, so I'm sure we'll get an update from Rick Hahn or Tony La Russa on what's going on with him. Fingers crossed on that, because obviously his bat is huge in that lineup. I just think they're too talented. I know that I think we've found it's a flawed roster in some regards, but there's still so much talent. And I think the talent, the urgency of now knowing there's only 2 months left and a weaker division, again, call me stupid for believing it or naive, but I think they're going to figure it out and win the division.
Let's go to the Bulls for a second, Mike. I mean, of course, Andre Drummond, Goran Dragic. I mean, that's sort of, 2 signs that kind of came out of nowhere. Do you think the Bulls have enough, and do you expect them to make any more moves?
Well, I mean, I kind of think they're done in the way of anything significant. I feel like the window for that, I mean, I don't know. Maybe AK has an ace up his sleeve, and Kevin Durant, pulls a big trade, and Kevin Durant ends up in town. I would have no problem with that. But I think the odds are probably good that they're done in the way of any sort of significant moves. And I don't know. I don't know. Have they really gotten better enough that they're a legitimate contender in the East? I mean, what do you guys think? We watched them last year. When they would play good teams, it was a disaster. Now, granted, we saw a lot of that in the second half of the year when, Lonzo was out and, Zach was missing time. I mean, the Lonzo injury, that cut off any chance of them doing anything significant in the playoffs. And obviously that's still a question mark. I mean, we don't know for sure what his status is going to be when they go to training camp. And that's a big deal because Lonzo Ball, Io, and Goran Dragic. Io did some great things last year, but he's not Lonzo Ball. And Goran Dragic at this point in his career obviously isn't as good as he once was. So, Lonzo's a huge key. I like the Drummond ad, but is he a difference maker in the way of carrying you over the top into the second round or the Eastern Conference Finals or into the finals? I just don't think so.
Last question for me, Mike. Of course, we mentioned that when we brought you on that you're from Chicago and you're working in your hometown. You've been here for a few years now. Me personally, I enjoy you on Sports Sunday with Layla Rahimi, another good friend of this show. And you guys have great chemistry. Just talk to us quickly about working with her and what does it feel like coming back to your home and working in your hometown?
So I'll go backward and start with question 2. It's amazing because for me, I grew up in the north suburbs in Northbrook cheering for all these teams I get to cover. So it's it's a dream come true. And when I set out to try and, have a career in sports broadcasting, it was always my dream to work in Chicago, in my hometown. So to have the opportunity to do that is such a blessing. I'm so grateful for it every day. And I just love working at NBC5. And to work with Layla I talked earlier about, my life feeling like it comes full circle. Layla and I worked together at different stations in Austin, Texas, a decade and a half ago. So I've known her since 2008. And, she's such a great person and she's so talented and witty and funny. And so for us to get a chance to rekindle our friendship and to get to work together on the air and have fun is just, it's like Sunday night is the best. Those 30 minutes are just a blast. So I'm grateful as well to have the chance to work with a friend and a talented friend at that.
Oh, I love the videos that Layla be posting on Sunday nights. We guys do Sports Sunday. It's a whole lot of fun, especially during the football season too. I'm sure you guys got to have a lot planned. Speaking of a good friend of Chicago, we got one of our good friends from Chicago is going to hop in with us these next few minutes while we still you got on mic. Is KXRB's Christine Manika.
Hi. Hey, Christine, how's it going?
It's a busy day, but we're doing it.
I know we've got a busy show, so we're doing it too. So, Mike, thank you so much for joining us. We got to do this again soon. Where can people find you?
I would love to do it again. Thank you for having me. I'm honored you asked me to join, and it was a blast.
Where can people find you on social media?
At Mike Berman, NBC. Oh my gosh. Hold on. Let me check my phone. Is it NBC or NBC 5? That's bad.
We've all
at Mike Berman, NBC, no 5.
Okay.
On Twitter.
All right, cool. You guys check him out every day on NBC5 Chicago. You can check out him and Miss Layla Rahimi on Sports Sunday on NBC5 at 10:35. Mike, again, thank you so much. We got to do this again. And tell her that we said hello and enjoy the series against the White Sox series against the Guardians this weekend.
I will. Lakeena, Sydney, thank you so much. Appreciate it. You guys have an awesome weekend.
You too. Thank you. Keep up the great work. Much continued success.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You guys too.
All right. Take care.
All right, that is of course Mike Berman from NBC5 Chicago, and Miss Christine, we got you in here, Christine. I know you've had a pretty
thanks for being patient with us, Christine.
Yeah, so we had a pretty very long damn show. No, because Mike said he was having a problem with the link and such. So I'm glad we got you in, because luckily we still got some minutes with you. Some of the big topics here, of course, the White Sox, they got the quote unquote easy schedule. These next 70 games. What's your prediction for the Sox? Can they get back up there in the AL Central and just take control of it?
If they keep that heat going like they did before the All-Star break, yes, I definitely think that, there's something about the rejuvenation, I think, of the All-Star break, that it gives everyone a better picture of what the rest of the season is going to look like. It can get them excited or it can get them frustrated. And I hope with the White Sox, that frustration can turn into some winning results, whether it's better pitching, whether it's more hits, and just better communication on the defense too.
Yeah, the defense definitely has to get better. It's not going to get better overnight, but that must improve in the second half for the Southsiders. Christine, from the White Sox, which player or players are you looking forward to having a breakout second half?
Oh my gosh, Dylan Cease. I want him to get some sort of a Gold Glove Award or something. I'm waiting for it for him. I predicted that at the start, Sid. You got to give that one to me a little bit.
She did. It's true. She did.
You got to give.
Yeah, we got to check the tape. We'll check the tape.
Check the tape. And I guess another player that I'm looking forward to seeing more of is. Oh, that's a tough one. I want to see Tim Anderson get a little bit better. He just got off of the All-Star game, running on that high too. I think he can push himself a little bit more. He's been kind of teeter-tottering between really good and then just really bad. So I hope that he finds his stride and he finds his rhythm back in the second half.
All right. We still got a lot of talk. We talk to you about. Okay, we'll talk Bears since they. The rookies come on this weekend. The veterans come in next week. We talking about it still. So, what are your expectations, if any, for the Bears this year?
I don't have any.
Well, that's probably the best answer.
Look, it is what it is. I don't necessarily agree with all the decisions that have been made during this off season. However, I hope that these two, the Ryan and Mac 2.0, I hope that they have, good heads on their shoulders. It seems like, Coach Flus is a really good guy and he's willing to put in the work and to get this team back to where it needs to be. It's not going to happen this year or overnight, but he at least, I think, is going to try to take them in a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and speaking of the right direction for the Bears, what do you it's going to be? We're going to ask you this again before the season starts. But what is the floor and what is the ceiling in terms of wins that you expect from this rebuilding Bears team?
The ceiling would be 500. Would be a solid 500 record. The floor, they don't win anything.
They're not going 0-17. I think it's safe to say that.
We hope anyway.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I think that's gonna be sort of the thing here. We talked about this, the last few weeks about the Bulls, and you hear the rumors that after summer league that Lonzo is still we meant to ask Mike this, but we didn't get a chance to. But I'll ask you: do you think Lonzo can come back from this injury? Because the bone bruise can be very tricky. So what do you think?
Yes, and here's why I say that: the Bulls have had a extensive history of great players with a lot of injuries. Take Derrick Rose, for example. He somehow managed to come back every single time on the court. He wasn't the exact same player of what we saw in the beginning, but he still came, he put in the work, and Chicago responded. I kind of expect the same thing here. He hasn't had the same extent of injuries as Derrick Rose had. So I think with a little bit of time and patience, he can get back to the floor and be a strong asset for the team.
We're talking a whole lot of stuff with Christine Manika, Christine the Queen Manika of KXRB, Sioux Falls, South Dakota, right here on Second City Sports Live and Live on a Friday edition, right here in Sports Zone Chicago. Sid Lakeena here with you. Let's go back to baseball. Christine, did you watch the All-Star game? If yes, were you impressed by the broadcast?
I liked it when the players are mic'd up,
Mm-hmm.
I love it when you can hear their thought process and just hear them being just guys playing baseball, because when it's not the All-Star break, it's so serious, I guess you can say, in some certain level. But during a time like this, you really have all the teams coming together and acting like a giant big family. So I enjoyed that part of it for sure. Liam Hendricks, I love that he got on the mic for a little bit.
He didn't swear.
No, he didn't swear.
I'm shocked, which I was shocked by.
But he did throw the Whites. He threw himself under the bus for the White Sox when one of the broadcasters said, "Hey, you think you're gonna strike him out? You think you're gonna strike off the side here, Liam?" And then he's like, "If I can't do it for the White Sox, I'm not gonna do it now." I thought it was hilarious, because that's just who Liam is. He's that fiery, very outspoken, funny type of guy, and he ended up getting the job done, which was awesome to see.
Yeah, and then he didn't. I was afraid he's going to let, when he said that, I thought he was going to let the F word slip. I swear, I thought he was going to do that. So I'm like,
because his kids or his wife was there, he's like, okay, this is on national TV. Yeah. I got to keep it clean.
You got to keep it clean.
Yeah, come on, give me that ball to Julio Rodriguez.
Yeah, right.
Give the ball. Seriously, kept it very, very PG. We're very proud of you, Liam. But Kyler Murray's $230.5 million contract. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a headache. It took how long to get that? How much long or time, whatever did it take to get that contract? Come on. You were just teasing everybody around saying, "Oh, I'm going to go to this team. What if I go to this team? Nah, I'm just going to stay here." That's a headache waiting to happen. So fine, Arizona, you can keep him, because that just sounded like it was a pain to even try to get him to sign anything.
What do you think happens to Lamar Jackson of Baltimore? Do you think he's going to get the same type of money, or at least a bigger contract? Because Deshaun Watson and Aaron Rodgers before them set the precedent, because as we talked about earlier in the show, I don't know if you caught it, Christine, we talked about how the salary cap goes up in the NFL every year, but the way these quarterbacks are getting paid, if you're in the top 10, top 5 quarterback, your paycheck goes up as well.
Well, if you're asking me about Deshaun Watson's paycheck, I don't think he should be getting anything this year, but that's just my opinion. So do I hope that Lamar Jackson? I think it's going to be similar to Murray. I don't think it's going to be anything more, just because he's still kind of teeter-tottering a little bit. I want him to have a good season, and I want him to have that big contract, but I think just because of so much adversity of what he's faced, I don't think he's going to get just above Kyler Murray. I think he's going to be right in that ballpark with him.
Yeah, should be interesting. And I'm sure they'll figure it out. I mean,
yeah.
I know he's at training camp right now. Of course, Baltimore's already open camp. So I think that shows that, yes, he wants to be here. So I'm sure both sides will figure it out. A couple of sports media news notes.
I was going to say really quick, too, now you got to throw Jimmy G in that group. Apparently he wants out of San Francisco. He's still going to be going to their training camp, so he could still be on the team by the end of that.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see. Let's talk about that, Jimmy G. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, of course, if you guys didn't, figure it out yesterday, the 49ers have, given, Garoppolo's agents permission to seek a trade, any potential destinations and such. I'll start with you, Christy. What do you think?
I think because it's so close to the season, I don't see him going anywhere else but staying in San Francisco for now. I really don't, just because it's a little late in the game. And maybe that's a strategy on the 49ers part to say, hey, okay, we can let you go out for a trade, but who's going to take him, So I think he's still going to stay with the 49ers. I think he's just going to do his job and try to get them back into the Super Bowl again. But I don't see him going anywhere, at least this year. Next year, most likely, but right now I don't think so because of how late it is in the game.
Remember before the draft, Lakeena, we talked about how GM John Lynch said that he didn't like the deals. It was reported that he didn't like the deals that he was receiving in his phone calls. And this before Jimmy G had that surgery on his shoulder. So we'll see what happens. I still predict that Trey Lance will be your starting quarterback when San Francisco travels to play the Bears in Chicago on September 11th. But we'll see what happens then. There was some sports media news, as you said, Lakeena. Yes. And it was one of the about the NFL. I want to say the not the NFL Network, but the Amazon Prime that made a couple of interesting hires.
Yes, they did. One of them was Kaylee Hartung. She's going to be back on the football sidelines. Of course, she's doing more. Hartung, I think she belongs there. I think I know she does. One of the other things that got her started was, doing news. She did it for CBS. She did it for CNN. And of course, now she's an ABC News correspondent. But now she's going to be back to doing, probably, I think, what I think she does best is sideline report for an NFL. She'll be doing the Thursday night football matchup for Amazon Prime. So what do you guys think about that?
Gosh, everything's just going on streaming now. It's only a matter of time before you see more often than not games being on these streaming networks like Amazon, Hulu, Apple TV. So I think we're starting to see a different trend in the sports media industry.
Yeah, and I also remember remember Kaylee doing college football for ESPN back in the day. I think she did some college basketball too. So I know you had this. It depends on who you are. You had to do some things to keep your name relevant in this business. But I'm glad she's back to what she loves doing, is being a sports sideline reporter.
Also, Andrew Whitworth, the recently retired Rams O lineman, of course, winning paid man of the year. It's also been touted along with Akeem Talib to do their studio stuff along with Kaylee. I can imagine those two kind of going back and forth.
Yeah,
that's gonna be hilarious. So, I might subscribe to Amazon Prime just to see that, the pregame show.
Yep. Also, too, we want to ask Christine. The ESPYs were on this past Wednesday. Steph Curry was the host. The co-host was who I thought stole the show was Travis Kelce, the tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. Did you catch the ESPYs? And if so, what did you think?
Yes, and I think they got the most valuable male golfer wrong. It should have been Scotty Scheffler, not Justin Thomas.
That was more of a name, I think. That was more of that was more of a name, I think.
Gosh, that is just wrong. Disappointed in that. Everything else fine. I don't like Aaron Rodgers being on that list again, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah, of course, Steph was the big winner, winning I think he won 3 for, like I said, Male Athlete of the Year, NBA Player of the Year, and also the team. Golden State won, Team of the Year. So yeah, it's fine. Good Morning Football has officially announced their full roster finally, of course, after hiring Jamie Erdahl earlier this month, a couple weeks ago. Former Patriot Jason McCourty, who recently retired, is going to be. They finally found the guy to replace Nate Burrow. So what do you guys think about that hiring by the Good Morning Football? And can this team kind of like sustain sort of like the building audience that Good Morning Football has sort of made?
Well, someone's going to look like me with a bald head.
Oh, jeez.
Had to get that in there, Christine.
Yes.
You just had to.
Yes, you did. Of course you did. What do you think, Christine?
We'll see how it goes. Shows change personalities more often than one person would think. So I think they're just trying to find the right balance, I'll say.
Yeah. Any other sort of sports media before we wrap up, Sid?
I want to ask Christine this. We talked about this before with the live golf controversy,
Yes.
of course.
Oh, yes.
Of course, Cameron Smith won the Open Championship last weekend. Of course, now Liv is starting to take off, and more golfers going over there. Not the big names, but the medium-sized names, for lack of a better term, are joining their league. And now they want to ask Charles Barkley to do some work for them, and he may have to leave TNT to do so. What are your thoughts?
First of all, last week on the show, I called Cam Smith.
Yes, you did. You did.
I called it. I said,
you did.
Knocking on the door. I was watching the game with my boyfriend, and he's like, "Oh, I think Rory's got it." And I'm like, "Nope. I think this is Cam Smith." Right when he got that eagle on the 17th, I was like, "There we go." Oh no, not eagle, birdie on the 17th when he came up that hill. I just said, there you go. That's it. Even Chris is like, no, that's going to be a par. Like, he's going to miss that. And then I'm like, no, I think he's got it. And right when he made that birdie, I just said, what did you say that was going to be again? I think he kind of smirks a little bit. So that's when I kind of know, I'm starting to get this golf thing down pretty pat by now.
Yes, you learn it pretty quick. Yeah. What about the live?
When it comes to the Charles Barkley, I mean – look, my mom and I were talking about this the other day. It's kind of open season right now for the Live Tour, especially with in the political side of things. Our leader just went over to Saudi Arabia, to the Middle East in general. So I think that in itself is going to open up a lot of other possibilities for people to join. Do I think I've never thought of Charles Barkley, first of all, as a golf commentator whatsoever. Like, I can't see that ever being a thing. But like the PGA has been punishing the players that have been going to the Live Tour, I wouldn't be surprised if TNT decides to throw in their own little punishment if Charles Barkley does go over to the Live Tour. And I only say that because you've already seen the repercussions of players that have gone over there. And I know TNT, that program, it's a massive program for them. They got a lot of great guys on that show, and Charles Barkley is one of them. So I guess the question is, are they going to be willing to pay as much money that Liv could be giving Charles Barkley? That's what it's going to come down to in the end. It doesn't matter if you're talented or you're really interested in it. It's all about the money in the end.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, David Faraday, veteran, CBS, and also he was been at NBC for the last few years. Now he's left to go on the Live Tour too. So yeah, it's getting interesting there in that Live Tour. So and plus that'll put a huge void if Barkley does leave, because he has kind of put it out there that this might these next couple of years with his contract coming up might be his last go around with them. So.
Which again, I cannot picture him as being a golf commentator. Like, it doesn't make sense to me.
But we all know at the end of the day, as Christine says, it's about money, but it's also about putting on a good show. And Barkley brings in people. He has many people that loves him. He has a few people that hates him. So that's what it's all about. And Liv, I get it. They want to get off the ground and have people talking about him, and bringing in Charles Barkley. If it ends up happening, they're going to accomplish their goal, at least from the outset.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So anything else you guys want to talk about? Christine, you got some stuff coming up that you want to promote before we disperse?
I'm hosting a Relay for Life event tonight here in Sioux Falls. So I'm kind of going to be running on no sleep because that goes until 10 o'clock tonight. Then I'm on the road watching some more golf this weekend. So that's going to be a fun trip. And yeah, can't believe it's almost August.
I know, right?
Oh gosh, I know, right? Keeps like going so quick, and for the training camp and college sports gonna be going, college football going to their respective camps and practices as well. So yeah, oh goodness, coming up fast, folks. With that said, you can follow me at Keena McGee on the Twitter and at Keena Scorpion on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sydney Brown, on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Make sure you download that Sports Zone Chicago app today, wherever you get your apps. Make sure you follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Make sure you catch Second City Sports, the podcast version, at War on Anchor. We are available on all podcast platforms, including the iHeartRadio app. And make sure you follow War Media at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
And we'd like to thank our three guests for today. Arturo Garza from WVON, a.k.a. DJ Turbine. You can catch the Fundamentals, the sports show, tonight and every Friday night from 9 p.m. to 12 midnight Central Standard Time on WVON AM 1690 in Chicago. But if you're outside the Chicagoland area, you can download the iHeartRadio app. Just type in WVON Chicago, and you access that show right there. You're surely going to be on there tonight talking Chicago baseball during the first hour of that program. We also like to thank Mike Berman, the sports host and anchor from NBC5 Chicago. We'd like to thank him for his time. And, of course, our queen, Christine Manika from KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. We'd like to thank them one and all for joining us today.
And don't forget, Sports Zone Chicago is on Roku TV.
Roku!
If you got the Roku app or the Roku remote, just type Sports Zone Chicago right there on the search bar. It's all right there. You can check out our show. You can check out What's Up, Cuz. You can also check out, of course, Sean and Maya in the mornings. We got some other shows that are going to be, premiering within the next few weeks, right before football season. So our brand is growing, folks. So make sure you guys check it out. Tell your friends.
Yes. Make sure you smash that like button. Share this video. Share this great content with any and everybody you know. Sports Zone Chicago is where it's at.
All right, so stay cool, everybody. I know it's hot like all over the country, pretty much, well, except for San Francisco. But even still, we love you guys too in San Francisco as well. So for Sid and Christine, I'm Lakeena. Wash your hands. If you're not getting vaccinated, wear your mask, and just be good to each other. This has been Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago, and we'll see you Monday.
Go Sox. Till then, holla.